Alright everybody, it's your Power Revolver 84 here, and today we're going to do a review of Gran Turismo Sport. So you're probably wondering why it took so long to get this out. So I have had this since launch, and I had the beta as well. So you're probably wondering why it's took this long to get it out. Well, unlike all the other people who are putting out reviews out there for Gran Turismo Sport based on the beta or based on the handful of hours they've played it, I've actually played this game properly, because one of my major concerns was the lack of career mode, but we'll get to that in a minute. The first thing we want to talk about is the most obvious thing that sticks out in this game, and that is the graphics. The graphics are absolutely fantastic, like quality, really good. The replayers, if you have the replayers on, you'd honestly think you were watching a real race. They are that good, the replayers. The cars, there is like 158 cars, and each one took 6 months to build by developers because they wanted to get everything just right. They took all the photographs of the car inside and out, they did everything right, all the details in terms of stitching and stuff, and it really does sort of show and tell, and the amount of polygons and stuff that must have went in each individual car is absolutely amazing. So the first thing straight out the bat, and the most obvious one that stands out by a country mile, is the graphics. Well done, Polyphony, excellent start. So it's all well and good having gorgeous looking cars, but how many tracks have you got them to drive over? Well, you've got 17 tracks on Gran Turismo Sport, with the major contenders like the Nürburgring in there and Brands Hatch in there, the recognisable ones, but they've left some really important ones out for whatever reason. So like Deep Forest isn't there, a personal favourite of mine, Laguna Seca's not there, which is a bit bizarre because you'd think, especially in previous iterations of the game, they would definitely make sure to try and get those tracks again. Of which as well, of those 17 tracks, it has to be said, some of them are just the same track but backwards, or a different version of that track. So like for example, Brands Hatch, there's two versions of Brands Hatch. One's the normal version, one's the indie version. Both of them have half the track exactly the same, they just go off in a different direction for maybe 40 seconds of the race. So yeah, 17 tracks. Could done better there, I'm afraid. Now you're probably thinking that could be made up if the game actually plays well. Well, good news, it plays really good. The physics feels really good. Every car feels different, it has its own style. It feels heavy when it's supposed to, it feels light when it's supposed to. There isn't a lot of customization, unlike previous iterations of Gran Turismo, where you could go on, you can make all these different sort of tweaks and stuff to your car. You can do small little changes to your car, but nowhere near the level of customization in terms of performance that we used to be able to get. You can do liveries, but we'll get to that in a second. Driver ratings also come into this as well. So when I say that the physics are important and stuff, you still don't want to run the risk of turning into a bumper car sort of situation with cars bashing off against each other. So what happens is they have a system of ghosting, so you'll be in your race and you've always got that one guy who just rams into you or whatever to try and get past or whatever. Well, now they ghost, they turn into ghosts and they fly right through you. Similarly, if you lose control on the track and you start to fly off, you'll ghost and cars will be able to drive through you without too much damage to their car or threat to the way they're playing. Now that ghosting is really important because they're really wanting to move this into sort of like an esports sort of situation, and to do that they're having to introduce things called driver ratings and sportsmanship ratings. Now driver ratings, your ability to actually drive the car and drive well and get around the tracks fast, but that's capped by whatever your sportsmanship rating is. Now your sportsmanship rating is how well you drive the car in terms of avoiding bumps, crashes, causing other people to crash, the amount of times you've got to ghost, things like that. The sportsmanship rating is an excellent idea, but it could be better, because I have lost count of the amount of times that I've been doing everything right, I've been in the right line, I've been driving at the right speed and braking when appropriate and stuff like that, and a car has hit me, causing me to crash, and I'm the one that gets a reduction in sportsmanship rating. Now the good news is the higher sportsmanship rating goes and the higher your drive rating then follows, you are paired in multiplayer against players of a similar level. So if you're a particularly good driver and you have an excellent sportsmanship rating, you shouldn't experience a race too much where you're getting bumped all over the shop. Similarly, if you're that arsehole that bumps cars all over the shop, you're going to be down there getting the crap beat out of you by other cars. So it's very fair in that sense. So although you can't do the sort of level of customization and tweaks in terms of your car performance, in comparison to previous Gran Turismos, you do have a livery editor, and that is particularly good, if I'm honest. So you can go into your livery editor and you can edit the entire appearance of your car, everything from your wheels to the bodywork, colour. You can even use all these different shapes to come up with gorgeous pictures and designs. You should see what some of the people out there have been putting together. Like, they've got like anime sort of style pictures on the sides of the cars. They look brilliant. They've obviously took a lot of time on it. I've got no idea how they do it. And they can upload that to the social areas on Gran Turismo Sport, where everyone can view them and they can sort of write comments, things like that. It's a very good thing. And then once you're really happy with your car, you can take it into this place called Scapes. Now, Scapes is basically the photo version of the game, but it's particularly good. So what they've done is they've took photographs of real world locations, and it allows you to drop your cars up to 3 onto these locations, move around, do all sorts of amazing things with things like aperture, masks, turn your lights on your cars on, having a driver present, time of day, the darkness, blur rate, all this sort of thing, to make some truly fantastic pictures. I'm no photographer, I'm no brilliant artist either, if I'm honest, but I have managed to pull off some amazing pictures and scapes relatively easily as well, and not without much practice. So it's very user friendly to get really nice looking pictures. It's not all plain sailing though by a long shot for this game. There are some bad points, and the main one, the one I mentioned earlier, which I really want to talk about, is the lack of career mode. It stands out by a country mile, and which is why I wanted to take my time to review this game properly. So a lack of career mode is the first time they've done this in a Gran Turismo game, where you haven't got the ability to start off in the lower leagues and progress yourself through them by slowly getting more cars, slowly tweaking your car, getting better times, unlocking new races to race in, and unlocking new races via doing licensing stuff. Instead, the single player mode is basically just what we used to think of as licenses. It's just a load of challenges. And if you ask me, the reason why they've done that, they say they've done that to try and encourage ESL type of sort of style of playing, esports sort of playing, and that's the line they're sticking to. In my eyes though, they've done that purely because of the sheer lack of amount of cars. So when you consider that the previous Gran Turismo games has had as many as like 600 cars, that makes sense. So when you've got like a race and it's just for cars that have been in existence only since the 1970s, or if you've got cars that are only Ferraris, or if you've got races that are only for four-wheel drive cars, you've got a good selection of cars. But because there's only 158 cars, of which 30 of them are concept cars, mind, got to put that out there, you're not actually going to have a lot of opportunity to have different types of races. It's obvious, do you know what I mean? Like, it's clearly obvious. So the lack of career mode, in my eyes, is purely because they've spent so much time trying to get each individual car right. They've run out of time to actually make enough cars to warrant you to have to go through some sort of career progression. It takes a lot away from the game, if I'm honest. So in previous Gran Turismos, you'd be working on your car like a naffy little Corsa or something, and you'd slowly build yourself up over time. Maybe 30 hours later you'd be buying supercars and things, and you'd be over the moon when you finally get one. I got a Bugatti Veyron on the second day of having this game, and I stopped and I just thought, hold on a minute. Like, if I got a Bugatti Veyron, I should be buzzing. I should be like, wow, that is so unusual. Like, I can't believe I got that. Really happy. And you should get a bit of a kick out of it. It's a bit like the equivalent of like the boyhood time when you used to collect football stickers and you got a shiny. You should be buzzing over it. Instead, I was like, what? I've got a Bugatti Veyron on my second day without any effort as a gift. I was like, I haven't bought it. I haven't had to make decisions in terms of selling cars to get money for it. Don't particularly feel like I'd warranted to get it, if I'm honest, because I haven't actually won any competitive races by this point. I was sort of like, I don't get it. It felt very unrewarding to get what should have been a very special car. Another particularly bad point as well is the music. The music is so boring and out of place, so it's like something you would listen to in a lift. Like, I'm not kidding, it would put you to sleep. You don't particularly feel any sort of adrenaline rush or excitement at hearing this music. And I'm comparing that to like previous versions of Gran Turismo, where they had like the Cardigans you know, and Queens of the Stone Age and stuff, and there would be songs in there where you sort of thought to yourself, this feels like a good driving song. It goes well with what I'm doing, it helps us concentrate, it gets us all pumped up. Instead, you've got this sort of quality of music which, if I'm honest, is awful, and you don't recognise any of the songs. There's no songs from any of the chart. They're probably all sort of like back alley, you know, 2 bob sort of performers who've just maybe been hired for like 500 quid to write a song for this. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not recognisable names, and it's just a disappointment, really. Like, it just feels like another thing that they forgot about until maybe it's the last minute and they've just tacked some stuff on. If you don't include the arcade mode, which is yourself playing against the ridiculously easy to beat AI cars, there is 2 areas where you actually do any sort of particular race, and that is the lobby, where you can either host or play against other players in a room, which you define, or the owner of the room defines the rules for, so what type of group of car it is, what track it is, what time of day, that sort of thing. Or sport mode, and sport mode is basically just a selection of 3 dailies which took over a week to refresh. So they weren't dailies, they were like weeklies. It took over a week for them to refresh the very first time. And a couple of championship races, so like there's one for like a manufacturer. There was a Polyphony one which has disappeared, and then the FIA accredited one, which they're particularly proud about, and they like to talk about that all the time, that the FIA accredited, and if you complete these sort of things you might get some sort of certificate. I'm still quite sure how you're supposed to get that, if I'm honest. I don't know if they're referring to actually winning any of these championships or what, or if they mean completing the career mode, quote career mode, campaign mode. So I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to get that. So they're the only 2 areas really to race in, and it's not very rewarding. Unlike sort of an actual traditional career mode where there's progression, you just feel like you're playing just for the sake of playing against other players. The sport mode, unless you're in one of the championships, you're basically playing usually 2 times out of 3 on a track with a set car anyway. That has not even got to come from your garage. So all the players straight away are all where you're driving the exact same car. The only difference is the colour selection that you chose, and it gets a bit frustrating and boring, especially if you don't get a good qualifying time, or you join a race late and you've only got like maybe 2 minutes to get your qualifying lap in, and you find yourself at the back of the pack, knowing fine well you stand absolutely no chance, especially with the ghosting mechanic that's in place, of getting to the front. Now, for a game that's been so long in development and they pride themselves on the quality of it, I have to say there is a fair few defects, which is unusual for a racing game, because racing games traditionally don't have a lot of defects in, purely because they're on a track. It's not like you're going off and you're doing anything other than putting your foot down and going forward 99% of the time. Yet I'm seeing defects on an almost daily basis, like defects like where the race will start and your car won't pull away, and it'll be revving and it just does not pull away. The other cars will be bashing into the back of you, and then they'll be driving past you and you'll be sat there stuck. The entire pack can go around the lap and you're still there on the start line trying to pull away. That's really frustrating. I've had ones where the races have been loading and the game has disconnected, not because it's dropped connection, not because the room's been emptied or anything, but purely because of some sort of defect where they could not connect the game properly so that you could actually start. I've seen other defects as well, where a car's basically driven into a wall and just stuck against the wall. Very unusual for a racing game to have this sort of many defects, especially straight out of the box. And again, they had such a long development window with this, so to see so many defects, it's very surprising, if I'm honest. A brilliant one that I saw the other day, which had the entire room confused, was I was hosting a race, and there was 16 of us in this race, and I set the race for a roll and start, where it started, and we're all past the start line, and none of us had the ability to drive our cars. It stayed in auto drive at 49 miles an hour. And we all sat there watching the cars go around the track over and over and over again. People just slowly started getting impatient and leaving the lobby, as you would. But we were sat there watching cars just uniformly driving around the track at 49 miles an hour, confused as to whether we should stick it out, as to whether it'll finally click in or whatever. It's just very frustrating, like, especially, like I say, for a game where defects generally shouldn't really be taking place. So what's my final verdict? Well, it looks absolutely brilliant, that goes without saying. It is phenomenal. The physics are excellent as well. They've obviously put a lot of time and attention into getting the feel and the look of it just right. Excellent, understand that. But I can't help but feel that has been done at the sacrifice of other more important things. Namely and predominantly and without a doubt, the lack of career mode really hurts it here, like by a long shot. I really wanted to give it some time to make sure that the lack of career mode wasn't going to be an issue, because I knew there was a lot of controversy around it, and there was a lot of concern before the game came out about it. And I didn't want to be those people who rushed out and give you a review within the first 48 hours of the game coming out, because I knew that no one would be sick of it after 48 hours. I wanted to give a review after at least a week of the game being out to understand the impact of not having a career mode, and I've got to tell you, it hurts it badly, mind. Like, I am talking maybe 2 points knocked off the score of what I'm going to give it for a review, because it hurts that badly. I don't have a clue what they were thinking. They've had a winning formula now for what, 8 iterations of this game, if you include like the concept and prologue versions as well. Like, what on earth were they thinking, not having the basic element of what makes Gran Turismo in the game, and that is your career mode with your ability to tweak and amend your cars. Like, it's all well and good having a great, good looking game, and it's all well and good having excellent sort of physics on it, but if you're bored of the game within 20 hours of buying it, then it's not worth your money. Like, it's, especially when you've got like Project Cars out there, you know, Project Cars, like, I think it's like 600 cars, I think the Project Cars 2 has on sale, and you've got to compare Gran Turismo to that sort of type of game. Project Cars 2, Forza, the new Drive Club's coming out, do you know what I mean? Like, Gran Turismo once upon a time had a monopoly on high quality racing games of a simulation style of manner. Now they've got that many rivals, it makes you wonder if they've got complacent and they've just sort of put all their focus and attention into trying to make a game look good and forgot what is their core ethos, and that is an actual interesting game that people get addicted to and progress and feel a part of and enjoy, almost in an RPG sort of style, progressing through it. They like to feel that they have earned things. Instead, they are just handed out willy-nilly. Like I say, you get supercars, £1 million supercars just given to you as a gift. You don't really get anything tangible really in terms of benefits from winning or even taking part in a race. Okay, you get improvements to your sportsmanship rating, you get mileage points, which I didn't previously discuss because they're absolutely freaking pointless. It's basically just a currency that you can go and buy things from, and also money as well, so credits, the in-game credits. The thing is, why are you going to buy a car for when you basically get half the cars that you'd want, just gifts for completing the campaign mode? It really loses you in the sense that you don't feel like you're progressing at all. You feel like you're very much conscious that you're in a multiplayer experience, and you very much feel like you're just treading water a bit. So when it comes to overall score, I have to be honest, if there was the traditional Gran Turismo mode in this, I would probably be giving this a 9 or a 9.5 out of 10. I'm not gonna lie, I would live with the defects, I would live with the crap music, but I would enjoy progressing myself in a really interesting and enjoyable game. And I would dip into online play, absolutely, of course I would, but most of my time would be focused on single player experience. The sheer lack of that has hurt that so badly that I've got to only give this a 7.5 out of 10. Should have been a first class excellent game, a flagship one for the PlayStation 4. Instead, it's going to be a middle of the road game that, if I'm honest, will be forgotten about in a year's time. Try again, Polyphony, on your next one. Think about it, learn some lessons. It's all well and good seeing you're going to drop in some more DLC in cars and stuff like that, which no doubt will cost more money. Your product wasn't finished, and you shouldn't have rushed it out. Right, that's enough from me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed me review for what it's worth. Let us know what you think. Do you disagree with anything I've said? What do you think about the lack of career mode? Do you think it's hurting it as badly as what I think it personally is? Don't forget to subscribe. Take care. All the best. Ta-da.